Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. If you're like me, you probably sometimes wonder when you look at your favorite celebrities, who's the face behind the face? Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit something about that. So you may recognize this lovely lady on the other side of my screen because she is the face behind the face for people like Taraji P. Henson. Ever heard of her? Alicia Keys. She's done worldwide tours with Alicia Keys, for Christ's sake. Queen Latifah, Sharon Stone, Rihanna. Hello. Yes, mother of 8 and celebrity makeup artist with Ashunta Sheriff-Kendricks. Coming
Hi,
out
Jess.
at you from her car because she's hiding from her children.
Hiding out from my kids because I'm embarrassing.
What I love about you being in your car right now, so like I said, like everyone knows this isn't filmed live, but what I love is so where you were last night to where you are right now. It's like
night and day.
Tell where were you last night?
So last night I was glamifying my longtime sister, client, friend, Taraji P. Henson. She was the host for the 2020 American Music Awards. So yes, last night was, I wouldn't say it was glamorous. You know, it was star-studded in a COVID way, but it wasn't glamorous by no means. But yes, American Music Awards into the SUV. That's how it's working.
I love it. I love it. It's so funny. And the other thing that I think is funny that you just said to me before we started filming is so your kids are inside like homeschooling right now because you're traveling
Yes.
and with COVID they're sort of remote. And you said that they're really embarrassed anytime that you're like around camera.
All the time. Like I have a 13-year-old son and he takes a lot of pride in, I guess, his image and, in the sense of the image that his friends know about. And so a lot of mornings when I would come downstairs, I would just go peek my head in his camera. He'd be like, Mom! And then I did it to my other son, Josiah, and his camera wasn't working. He was like, thank God my camera wasn't working. So I realized that I'm an embarrassment, to my like hilarious. But yes, due to COVID, our kids are virtually learning. 6 of our kids are virtually learning at home from grades K through 8th grade. So it's a lot of different grades. My husband's an actor and his show is actually now on hiatus until January. But when he wasn't working on the show, he's so hands-on and I would feel so horrible because I would be watching him like running from this one to that one. And I was like, I really need to be more helpful. But I was mentally tuned out because I was dealing with this like membership thing, group economics thing. And I was like, I need to be more helpful with my kids and like really step in. So then when I did start to step in and I was like in their camera, they were like, get out the camera.
I can't wait until they're older and they're like, oh, my mom did like 7 world tours with Alicia Keys. That's pretty cool. Like, I can't wait for the moment when it hits them that like they have a cool mom.
I think they do realize it's cool, but I think dad is more of the rock star for them because he's actually an actor. Like, I think the benefit in terms of the payoff for him is he's in front of camera and I'm behind.
I see.
So
I think he's
much
cooler.
more star to the kids because he's on a TV show. He's also a hip hop artist and just an entertainer, period. So he's just cool dad. So it's like, oh, mom is a makeup artist, but dad is a rock star. Dad is an actor, but one day they'll see how cool I am. They'll see.
I will say it's a little bit of a kick in the balls for me because I'm not as cool, right? So I have no shot of my daughter thinking I'm very cool if your kids think you're very cool. She'd be like, my mom hosts a web series.
Okay.
What? Like, yeah, I have no shot in hell. So thank you for crushing my dreams. Let's jump into the big mom free. And I'm super psyched to hear your answers because you have 8 children. 8. Oh
yes.
My God. That's like 6 more I can tolerate. Wow.
We were married on June 22nd of 2019. We've been together going on almost 6 years. So we knew the blendation, I should say, was coming. Cordero has 6 children. I have 2. And he had 5 children with his longtime like high school sweetheart, and things didn't work out. And then he had another with an ex. And then, I had 2 kids. I had one with my ex-husband and one with my first like real boyfriend. And, we knew the blending was going to happen. We just didn't really know, like, how is it going to work out? Now, I knew when Jordan met all of his kids, it was going to be perfect because he was just 1 year older than Cordero's daughter, who's his oldest. Yanni is 12, and they just all gelled when they met. It was like they all grew up together. It was awesome.
That's so
My
cool.
daughter, who's 21, when she met Cordero, she was around 17, maybe 18. No, she was 7. She was like 17 when she met him, because we're going on 6. And so she basically was the one who was a little more reserved. She took to the younger kids more than the older kids. And then something magically just happened. I feel like after we got married, where she started to really blend with the older kids as well. I don't know what it was. I think my daughter honestly is really a brat. And she's really spoiled. And I think she didn't even want her own brother, at some points. I'm sure she was like, can she just throw him in the trash? And we pretend he didn't exist. Because I remember, like, when I had Jordan, I was like, aren't you happy you have a little brother? She was like, no, not. So
funny.
Like, I've got to share you now with 6 other people plus him. But she really came around full circle. And it's beautiful to see that the child who had the most resistance, she actually dropped over the other day and was hanging out with her brothers and sisters. And I literally went to bed and they were up talking to like 2, 3 in the morning. And I was listening to them and I was like, look at this. Wow, how things have changed. Like, I remember 5 years ago when you met them, you barely wanted to talk to anybody. So full circle moment. It was great. It was great.
So cool. That's awesome. And I have more questions about your family in a little bit, because it's so cool. Eight kids blended. It's amazing. Let's jump into the Big Mom 3 quick. So first question, the Big Mom 3. Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
I always knew I wanted to be a mom. Actually, that is something I've been planning, I think, since childhood. I always was playing, house, was always the mom of the house. And I always had, like 2 kids, 3 kids. I never had more than 3 kids. I never saw myself.
Surprise!
Right. I never saw myself having a ton of children, but I always thought I'd have a few, I am not the quintessential lover of kids type, like that personality is like, I love kids. But I notice people who say that don't have kids. A lot of people. I hear that a lot from people who like, I love kids. You don't have kids. So you don't even know the dynamic of what it really takes to really be a parent and really raise children and raise them properly. But I think that it was more from as I became older and became really conscious about the world that we live in, the racism that we still face, the inequality we still face as women, that's became more, and just financially, like, could I really raise children in this ecosystem of this planet? And that's really where my heart was in terms of parenting. I didn't want to just be that person that was just pushing out children just because I love kids. It's so much more than just loving children. There's a lot of shit that comes with being a mom, literally.
Damn straight. Absolutely. That's probably one of the best answers I've gotten to that question, by the way. Because most people are like, yeah, I love kids, or no, I didn't know I wanted. Like, you're right. There's so much more that comes with being a parent other than like, I love kids, or like, here's my kid, she's really cute. Like, it changes your whole world.
Right. Changes your whole world. I am a firm believer of not putting your dreams on a back burner because you're a mother. I don't believe in that, because I believe that you actually show your daughters, especially your daughters and your sons, that you're pursuing your dreams and that you're fighting for them. And that's something that all of our kids need to learn, or you're showing them entrepreneurship, independence, working for self, how to figure things out. So I'm not that mom who's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm pregnant now. And I've got to stop everything. Fuck no, I'm not stopping shit. That's actually going to make me more motivated to push even harder. And I think that's what happened for me when I became pregnant with Nami. I was like, okay, because I was already a makeup artist when I was pregnant with Nami. I was working at MAC. And I remember getting booked for a wedding, and it was a Korean bride. And, they have all these makeup changes, most Indian and Korean brides, they do tons of changes. So I had like 5 changes for her, and I was pregnant with Nami. And I got locked out my apartment in Brooklyn, and I literally broke the window and climbed through the window pregnant, because thank God I lived on the first floor. My cat scratched the crap out of me because she was terrified of, I'm like, it's me. What the hell is wrong with you? And then I got my makeup kit, and then went and did my job. So pregnancy and all, nothing's going to stop Ashunta from doing her damn job, you know?
Damn
So,
straight.
so we,
Yes.
I think a lot of moms give up sometimes and think like, oh, my dreams have to stop. No, you may have to readjust the time frame in terms of your time. You know, people make, oh, this is my 1-year plan, my 2-year plan. Okay, it may not happen in 2 years. It may take 4, but don't stop. Don't let becoming a mom stop you.
That's awesome advice. And I've talked about that a lot on this show. That's something that I feel should be shouted from the rooftops, right? Like your dreams, your personality, you do not lose yourself when you become a mom. You just become a different version of yourself. And your
Right.
dreams don't go away, personality doesn't go away. And that's something that's been really important in our house since day one. So I think that's an awesome answer. All right, big mom 3, question number 2.
Okay.
What is the shittiest or most backhanded piece of advice you've ever gotten from another mother or parent?
Oh, I've gotten plenty of those. Shit advice. Wow. I actually got really shitty advice from a mom. I won't say my friend's name. That when you marry into you know, a blended family, when you're going to become a blended family, you become the bonus mom. And so that means that you aren't the full-time mom. So therefore you don't give full-time effort. You give part-time. You give the part-time effort because these are not your kids full-time. I think that is the shittiest thing ever, honestly.
That's
And
awful. Yeah.
it's awful.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I had a stepdad who actually had that approach to raising me. He was a part-time stepdad. He treated me like a part-time daughter. He showed his daughter all the love, all of the affection, and then me, he would pat me on my head. So I felt like a monkey, no pun intended. You know, I felt like a house pet. And then meanwhile, Teresa was getting hugs and kisses and my baby. And so I never got that nurturing from my stepfather. My real father passed away when I was 8, and he was bananas in love with me, you know, in terms of being a dad, for that love like of a daughter. I went with him everywhere. I was like his shadow. He spoiled the shit out of me. And then imagine your father passing away and then your mom remarries this person and you don't get any attention. So I think that set me up to either be crazy for my husband or set me up to just really be, you know, crazy in terms of I'm going to make sure that I overdo it almost with my kids. And they're all my kids. They're not my stepkids. They're not my part-time kids. I'm not their part-time mom. They are my kids, even when they're not. When Cordero's kids go back home to their mother, you know, it is important that we're still instilling the things that we teach them in our household, making sure they have the things that they need. You know, that doesn't end just because they're in New Jersey and we're in Chicago or we're in LA or wherever we may be. You know, that is really important. If he says, babe, the kids need X, Y, and Z, we're on it. Mm-hmm. So that is a really shitty piece of advice. And I'm going to tell you why. There's a lot of people out here who, you know, were in my circumstances, you know, especially in the African-American community, you know, father may be incarcerated, father may be passed away, you know, father may have left. Those are possible dynamics in our community, right? We all know what's happened in our community. So when you have a step parent, mother or father, it is so significantly important that they give their all. You know, they really give their all because a lot of African American kids are already starting behind the curve, not being raised in 2-parent households. And so imagine if I took that part-time mom approach. You know, imagine if my son, his stepdad treated him like a part-time kid, you know, that would be horrible. I would be devastated. So, you know, that's shitty advice and no one should follow that advice. Kids need love. Kids need nurturing. They need disciplining. They need learning. They need education. They need a lot of different things. I don't believe love is the simple answer to raising kids. All kids needs love. No, because that's not, they need so many more things than just love. But they also need a real parent. They need a real parent who's not afraid to say, hey, your breath stinks. Go brush your fucking teeth. You know, they need that parent that's like, hey, you're not washing properly. You know, I'm that mom. I'm like, I do, smell check. I do smell checks with the older kids. I think I drive them crazy because I'm like, give me your drawers. We had this whole, I know my kids are like, this is so embarrassing. But, you know, our boys are just the worst at showering. You know?
Yeah, boys are disgusting.
Gross. Boys are gross. I'm sorry. They become great smelling individuals when they're men and they really are trying to attract women. But when they're 10 and 12, they don't give a fuck about how smelling. You know, they can give two shits. So, you know, I've had to get in the shower with my son. No pun intended. Like when he was 9 years old, I was like, this is horrible, Jordan, because I stopped bathing your sister when she was 5. I literally give her the towel and I would stand and watch and supervise. And then if she missed something, I would show her. I said, but by 6, she was a pro. She was a G at washing herself. Here I am at 9. You've got shit stains in your drawers. Sorry, Jordan, I'm putting it out there. You smell. When you get up from the seat, I could smell your butt. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Are you not wiping good? I know I'm teaching you this stuff. This is shit mom shouldn't say, right? So
no, this is shit mom should say. This is gold. This is great.
so literally, I got in the shower, and the funny thing was, we were in a hotel, and my mom and my daughter were there, and I was in New York because I had relocated to Chicago to do Empire, so I was in New York, and my son and my daughter stayed with my mom when I first moved to Chicago because I had no support system in Chicago, so I wouldn't be able to, you know, really even be with my kids. We're working 14 to 16-hour days, and my mom was let the kids stay with me and you just come back and forth because it's going to be too much. So I did that. So the shitty draws continued because my mom was older and she really wasn't hands-on with him and I'm full on about embarrassment. I'm totally like, you're going to get it because you don't want to be embarrassed. So when we get to the Ritz-Carlton, we're at this really fancy hotel. My son walks in and I'm like, it was like Charlie Brown, the dirty kid, you know, with the spunk around. I was like, Jordan, get your clothes off, get in the shower. He was like, okay. He went in the bathroom and the next thing you know, I was in the shower with him. I had on all my clothes. So I peeled down to like panties and bra. So it looked like in a swimsuit. And some moms may be disturbed by this, but my son is not going to stink. So I got in there. I was like, you got to lift your leg up. You got to do that. You got to get in there. You got a big booty like mom. You got to do, you know, and he was just mortified. But when I tell you, that boy does not stink. When I was telling him the other day, because he's 13 now, I was like, oh, you smell amazing. He's like, because of you, mom. So you know what? When he gets married, his wife is going to go, wow, thank you so much. You really helped my husband smell amazing. Because, yeah, sometimes you got to get in the shower with your kids and get their ass right. Literally.
Oh, my God. I can end the episode.
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed.
No, you know what? You're bringing a whole new level of motherhood. Good for you. Good for you. You've already crushed the in-law game. He's not even close to married yet. You don't have a stinky ass 13-year-old. He smells good. You're crushing it. You're doing a great job.
My thing is kids are mean. So I knew if I smelled him, I knew they smelled him and I knew people would talk about him. And, you know, parents, sometimes I feel like, you know, they don't want to step on toes and they don't want to embarrass kids. But you know what? If you don't do it, some other stupid bully child will. No offense. Right. Some other kid is going to bully your kid because you were too afraid to step it up and tell your kid the truth. You have to speak truth to your kids. You have to give it to them raw. My mom always did. My mom always gave it to me raw, and that's where I really get it from. I'd wake up in the morning, come to kiss her. Oh, girl, your breath stinks. Get out my damn face. But I love my mom to death because that's why my breath smells good. That's why my body odor, you know, my hygiene. She was on my ass about those things because she would always say, I'd rather tell you than someone else talk about you.
Absolutely. I agree with that 1,000,000%. Where else are you going to learn it from? Like, you're not going to walk into middle school with all of the other like bad smelling little like mutants that you're in school with and be like, this is fine. Like, you need hygiene. Like, kids are disgusting. If you don't teach kids to not be disgusting, they stay just like my daughter would sit in her shit diaper all day. She doesn't care. She's like, whatever, I'm here, I'm hanging. Like, but then all of a sudden you're like,
what is this smell?
Oh my God. And like, obviously she's young. Like, it's on me to change her diaper, but like,
but it's also on you to teach her, hey, when you poop, you have to teach, you know, I believe in teaching at the level that they are. I wouldn't talk like that to a 2 or 3-year-old, you know, like, hey, your shit stinks. But I'd be like, come here, baby. When, you know, did you poop? Oh, you did? Okay, next time you poop, let mommy know. You know, let me know so we can change you. And after you teach them that a few times, they're going to do it. This is learned behavior.
That's why you can handle 8 kids.
Right. You can't You have to be fearless when you're a mom, and you can't be afraid of your kids, and you can't be afraid to bruise their egos, because I don't believe ego is necessary anyway to be successful in life. Ego stops a lot of you. So a lot of us from going where we need to go. So break that stuff down now, get that so that when they get in the world, they've got a tough skin and they can handle breakups from girlfriends. They can handle rejection from friends. They can handle, not getting a job. This is what the problem is. People are too sensitive to be honest with their kids. They don't want to hurt their kids' feelings. And I don't believe in that shit.
Well, neither do I. You and I'll be great friends. That's perfect. My kid's gonna hear it from me, real honest, whether anybody likes it or not.
Right.
Right. Question 3 of the Big Mom 3. What is, and you may have just told me this one already, but let's see if it's the same one. What is a skill or superpower you had before becoming a mom that you think has really helped you as a mom? And it may be telling little boys that they smell. It might be that.
The superpower I think I have as a mom, honestly, wow, I would say, believe it or not, my superpower is my drive for education. I've been like that since I was a little girl. I would be reading with flashlights. I'd be in trouble in school because I would be in a math class reading a book, for English, because I was like, oh, this book is good. I can't stop reading it, So I have a passion for learning, and and I was an A student, honor roll student, and I had scholarships all the way through college. So that's a skill that really helped me, I think, for virtual learning. It's like, who we would have to be teachers at home, and I'm not a teacher technically, but the way that my mind is wired, I'm prepared. So virtual learning, for some parents, they're like, oh my God, I need a drink every day at 10 a.m. I need one today because of the AMAs, not because of
different. You deserve one today. Yeah,
the
absolutely.
but I don't need a drink because, I have to do, virtual learning with the kids. I have the skill set, that super skill set that was built in me. And so I'm able, I posted a video on my Instagram, and it was like, I was going from room to room showing how, what kid is doing what. And people were like, oh my God, I would lose my mind. How are you doing that? It really felt like our house was a school, and
Yeah.
it was actually felt great for me because that is my superpower. My superpower is education and learning. If I wasn't a makeup artist, I'd be an educator. So
That's cool.
so that was cool. Like my stepson came to us, and I never call him stepson, but I want to differentiate this. My stepson CJ came to us, and he came with a little bit of learning deficiencies, because he was a little behind with stuff. And in one swoop, my husband and I have him from being a C student. He's an A student. His teachers was like, oh my gosh, I see the difference. The difference is not that their mom at home can't do what I can do, but it may not be her super skill set.
Yeah.
Her super set is different from mine. Kudos to my mom and mom, my mom and mom-in-law. I guess I don't know what we call each other, but she does her thing that is super nurturing and loving, and she's great at all of that. I have that too, but maybe not as great as her. I'm not a huge all the time hugger. Like, she's always hugging and cuddling, and they need that too. But I'm more like, did you get work done? Did you do this? So I think that the kids, both sets of kids, both mines and Cordero's, benefit so much from having both sets of parents, because they're really getting 4 super skill sets in terms of parents, in terms of what we're doing. So I love being, in a blended family, and that's what I feel like my superpower is. It's definitely in the learning.
That's awesome. And so I was going to go in like a little bit of a different path of like your blended family, but now you brought something up that I'm curious about, because you have 8 children between the two of you. And something that, for me with my own daughter, like, and we want one more, but that's sort of like where we stop. So 8 children to me, I could throw myself off of this chair and die. Like, I can't even think about it. Like, I'm actually like, I'm getting nervous thinking about you parenting 8 children, because it hurts my soul, because I'm not like a I love kids kind of person. Like, I love my kids, period. But so what I'm curious about, because it's important in our world, and it's something that I hear echoed across other moms, right, in this community, is fostering passion in your children. So like you just shared, if you weren't a makeup artist, you'd be an educator. So you have pretty significant passion. So whether it's education or whether it's, beauty and makeup and those things, I'd imagine 8 children, they all have very different passions.
Yes.
Very different passions, very different hobbies. how do you stay mindful in fostering each of their passions? How do you do that?
So we saw early, like when I first met Cordero's kids before the marriage, when we were just living together, and I first met them. Of course, my kids, me raising them, I already knew what their skill sets were. I already knew what their passions were because they're my kids. I raised them. My daughter is a creative, just like me. She's a drawer. Is that a real word? She's an artist. She draws. She loves music. So she took a lot of my personality, but she's great at hair and makeup. She could totally be an
Cool.
influence wanted to. She just by choice of she deals with some anxiety, and she doesn't like the kickback from people. So that's what stops her. She didn't get that tough skin, even though I put it in, instilled it in her. It's not the way I have it. So
It's
she's
not
more,
natural to everybody either. You can try to teach thick skin, but you
yeah,
either
it's,
have it or you don't.
or you don't, or you
Yeah.
don't. So she's decided now she wants to pursue costuming. She actually went to college for
Cool.
communication. She was going to be a broadcast journalist. She went to BU. She moved out to Angeles and said, "I want to be a costumer." Great. That's right up my lane. I know
Absolutely.
getting her set up for her dream and her life and her career. She's been like that since she was a kid. She was always, designing outfits, drawing things, being really creative, cutting up my clothes. She was always doing that. My son Jordan, I always saw early on music was something really passionate for him. So he really loves beats and drums. And so, like, now that's where my heavy in terms of influencing him, getting him a beat machine for Christmas. He doesn't know that. Getting him a drum set, in the past, so he could get his drum skills up. So that's what I saw. So I was able to point that out with Cordero's kids as soon as I met them. I was like,
Oh,
Siani's an artist. I was like, she's an artist. She's a creative. She's completely that. Josiah's an athlete. CJ's an athlete. Lala's an athlete. But they're all really smart kids. I just see athleticism in them. They took that after their dad. My husband had full scholarship for basketball, so he
cool.
became an actor. He became a hip hop artist, but he can play basketball. Like there was a not a championship. There was a charity event in Chicago, and it was a basketball game, and there were a couple retired NBA players. He was dunking on them like he's nice, but he chose to not finish college. He chose to not finish because he ended up pregnant, at that time
Yeah.
with his girlfriend, and he chose his children, having a child, having a family, and said, what, I don't. Some people don't see like you can do both. At that time he was young. He was
Yeah.
18, so he didn't know he could do both. He felt like, okay, I've got to drop out of school, but he had a full ride.
Yeah.
And he always says to me, like, what if I hadn't dropped out? What if I continued going? I could have been in the NBA. Who knows? I said, you could have been. But I see that skill set in his three kids. They are super athletic. Like
Cool.
Lala is 5 years old, and she runs like Flojo, like just speed, like a speed. And she runs nonstop. So much so I want to trap her in a closet sometimes. But
You're showering with your kids and throwing them in class. Like if anybody walks away from this interview with nothing else, it's those two things. That's it.
but you when you see the skill sets early in your kids, helps to develop them. So we did boot camp with our kids because we know some of our kids are naturally lazy. The artist kids are all lazy. It's the truth. All the
Yeah.
artists, they just want to draw, create, listen, chill. They want to Netflix and chill and watch things and have intellectual conversations about movies and be critics. And then the younger half of the kids are all athletes. So the dynamic is crazy in our house because you got three older kids who separate themselves and they all isolate and they draw and they're writing and they're in this music zone. And then the three younger ones are just running crazy all the time. Like, so we said, you know what, we're going to make boot camp. So we did house chores. We listed out we had like a chart. Everyone had chores every single day that they did, which was awesome for me because I didn't really have to do much but cook. And then they were doing all their chores. And then after chores were over, then we did boot camp. And so the kids who like out, like, it was so funny. The days we missed boot camp, the kids who were athletic were like, can we do boot camp today? We really, really want to do boot camp, Ash. So like I found myself like in the kitchen doing boot camp with like three little people, that they're 8, 5, and 3. They want to do boot camp. But the older kids are like, no, I'm good. I'm good on that. I
I'm
want to
drawing.
draw.
I'm busy.
I'm
Oh,
busy drawing.
very nice there. That's awesome. That's so cool. So my last like real question before we sort of start to wrap it up. So I'm always very impressed, and I shared this with you before we started filming. Like something that I love about you, aside from like what an amazing career you have, because you've sort of like an unmatched career. Like you could really name drop for days, and it would just be true, right? Like like it doesn't come off shitty because it's just true. Like, but what I think is so cool is you have this platform, and you're from what it looks like from an outside perspective is you're always looking to like use your powers for good, right? Like
Right.
whether it's the education piece or whether it's encouraging young women. Like what do you hope to continue to do with it? Like are there any things coming up that you have like around using your powers for good? But like I just think it's so impressive. I love it. I think it's great.
Well, I'm using my powers definitely for good. I'm in the process of me and my producing partner and developing something that's really, really cool that I'm very excited about. I can't talk about it yet though, but
Got it.
I'm moving into the producing department, which is awesome. And I'm planning on producing inspirational content that will inspire women. Hopefully it inspires men too, because
Yeah.
I think men can learn a lot from women when they watch and see the things that we create. I always say to my husband, he watches the show called Insecure with Me, produced and created by Issa Rae. It's on Showtime. No,
Oh,
it's on
cool.
HBO.
Okay.
And it's a great show to watch. It's about basically about Black women, who are have careers and they're pursuing their passions, and it's all like pre-marriage, so like actually one friend is married, but all the other friends aren't married. They're single. They're either dating or in a relationship, and they're all trying to like pursue this dream. And it's all about like pre-mommy phase. There's a lot of like phobia happening within all of these women as they're in their early 30s, like, oh, I want to have children, da, da, da. But my husband learned so much watching that show. And I think a lot of men, period, should watch content, that's about women, to learn about your wives, learn about your daughters, learn about us. We watch tons of shit about guys all the time, you know,
Constantly. Oh my God.
that we learn from about how sensitive men are. Like I didn't really realize how sensitive men were, how fragile they are too. Like you don't think that. You think, oh, big, strong guy. Most of the time they're teddy bears. And so that's my thing. I really want to bring a lot of light, a lot of education to women. So that's something I'm going to be working on in the next coming years. Also to working on my nonprofit, and I want to create a nonprofit for young creatives. Here's my husband. Shh, shh. You're interrupting my show. You're interrupting my show. He's being a father. He's saying
Being
shit.
a father. I love it. Oh my God. Sorry,
Being
being a father, I can't help it.
a father. Shit fathers say. That's the next show.
Great.
Your husband makes that one, and you guys can like. She's like,
Love
no.
it.
So yeah, but I want to create a nonprofit, which I'm working on now. And the sole purpose of that nonprofit will be really kind of cultivating young girls' creative talents. I feel like when I was growing up, there were so many programs that existed that could help uh, with my creativity, but a
Yeah.
lot of programs, especially for inner city kids, they're gone. They're gone. And, I believe that we are in a position now, since quarantine, everyone having to be together, that we see where we fell short to as parents, and
Yeah.
what we could work on, and where we fell short as human beings,
Yeah.
in society. And the kids are getting left behind a little bit, because we are pursuing dreams, because we are working so hard. Yes, we want to keep doing that, but we need to also remember our kids need some level of give back too. So
Yeah. They need their skills to be fostered, right? Because I think like amongst adult women, there's this opinion that like not everybody can be successful, right? Like
right,
there's enough success to go around. Like it was what like you were saying before, like ego has no place. It
right,
really doesn't. If you can cut the bullshit and you can cut the ego out and you can then foster that to younger kids, like specifically kids who are maybe at a disadvantage because of whatever circumstance, that's a wonderful thing to do. Like people need that. And you're right. Like with the way society's been right now, it's been a magnifying glass, I think, for people who really, really needed it to take a look and say, oh, my priorities are really fucked up.
right, right. So I really want to create, and I'm working on putting it all together. And I'll let you know when it's all up and running. It's just been taking some effort in terms of the mission statement and what I really, truly, truly want to achieve. Like, what do I want this to be? Just art driven? Do I want it to be arts and education? So I'm just kind of honing in, but I definitely know young inner city girls like myself benefited so. I'm from Harlem. I grew up in New York City, and I wouldn't say I came from lower income family by any means, because I had everything I wanted. I'm not like my husband. My husband grew up in the trenches. Like I grew up across from Central Park. I grew up in that beginning of Harlem, right on Fifth Avenue and 110th Street. And yes, shit got real when you went 2 avenues over. You can witness shootings all the time. Drugs were prevalent, all of that stuff. But it was like I lived in two different worlds, if that makes sense.
You crossed like one street and it was different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then also every apartment is different, in the sense of when you grow up in these big apartment buildings. I could go in someone's apartment and it could look like crap. And I went in my apartment and it looked like a palace, because my mom worked really hard and my dad did too. And so my dad was a butcher. He was a taxi driver. My mom worked for, at that time, New York Telephone and 9X and Verizon. She was there through all those transitions of those companies. And she had a really great job. She also had her degree, so, she was really my grandmother, God rest my big mama soul. She raised 7 kids, and her whole mission. Why is this phone ringing? I'm like, come on. I'm like, everything's happening right now in the last most amazing question. But my big mom from rural Mississippi, who, passed away this past year in her early 90s.
90s. God bless.
Yeah,
Good for her. Wow.
but she lived to see so much. And for her, when she had her children, she didn't finish, her education. So education was so important to her. And I guess that's what happened to me and my cousins. Like my freaking cousin Aaliyah is a poly, whatever they call it. She speaks 5 languages, is a polyglot or something like that.
I barely speak English. So
She
that's
speaks
like, yeah.
Mandarin. She speaks all these languages. She's an educator in China. My other cousin's an educator in where she lives, and she teaches viola and all. Like the cousins I have, they shit on me when it comes to accolades. Like they got degree upon degree. So my grandmother, kudos to her for pushing that on us. And so, my grandmother said, you don't have to be a product of your environment. Just because the world saw Black people as second-class citizens, at up to a certain period of time. I believe, of course, that is not how the world sees us at large. We know that there's a percentage of people that do still feel that way about people of color, period. But the world at large believes we should have equality. The world at large believes women should have equality. And I think that really just fostering that creativity and education super important. I meet even young white girls, and they're like, I wish I had those kind of programs. There's a lack of programs for young kids, period. Even kids coming from, multi-million-dollar households. Seriously.
Well, if that's not fostered by their parents, it needs to be somewhere else, like
Right.
it doesn't really matter where you grow up. If it's not being taught to you, you need it.
Right.
And like,
Right.
what a time to do it, because I don't know how to tell everybody this. There is a Black woman in the White House, everybody. There's a Black
Right.
White
Woo! Yes, very exciting about that.
House. So,
And they have so much work ahead of them. We know
so
that, but
yeah,
but
but it
that's what
starts with things like that.
yeah, art.
That's a big thing, to have little girls be able to look and say, that's real.
Yeah, and it's possible.
That's real. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's possible.
Absolutely. So for me, that's going to be what I'll be really working hard on in the next year. And once it's all up and running, I'll let you know, and maybe we can do a comeback interview and talk about it. But I just really want to.
Very good shit moms won't say donation. That's for sure.
Right. So that's just where my heart is. I want to help cultivate young girls to be creatives, and my stepfather, when I became a makeup artist, my stepfather, I will say, was heavy on education, even though he treated me like a pet. He was to the parent who was like, read this book. That was the plus of him. The con was the nurturing and the love and the energy I needed from a dad. But I did get, read this book, look at this program, know who you are, be solid in yourself. So he did teach me some things.
Yeah.
And when I became a makeup artist, because I dropped out of college, I dropped out my junior year. And I came home due to a really unfortunate circumstance. And so I was kind of getting back up on my feet and getting my mind, my spirit, everything together, and live, at home with my mother. And I found makeup, and makeup became my creative outlet. I was always drawing, like I told you, and doing that stuff as a kid, and, doing the same thing my daughter was doing. And then I got a job at Mac, and, my stepdad was side eyeing me all along, like, you're going to go back to school, right? You're going to go finish that degree. And year by year by year it was happening. What is happening?
Listen, blink twice if you're in danger.
And no one's in the car with me now. That's the hilarious thing. The car decided to turn on. I'm sorry about that. This fucking demon car. But because I wanted to say this was so important, but he just didn't see it for me, like, makeup artist, like, you said you were going to be an educator. He kind of looked his nose down on it. And it wasn't until several years later, long behind, Mac had happened. I was with Diddy, that happened. Usher, Jay-Z, did all my male grooming run. And the next thing you know, I become Alicia Keys' makeup artist. I do all these world tours. And I would say, like, my third, fourth year in with Alicia, there was a big birthday celebration for my stepfather, and I sent a limo for him and my mom. And the car, I said, I paid for the car for the night. I was like, stay with them wherever they want to go. I paid for all this stuff. And the next day he looked at me. He said, this makeup shit's doing pretty good, huh?
Said, yeah. You're like, yeah, it's doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Right. And then he gave me the infamous pat on the head. And he was like, good job, kid. Good job, kid. So, that was his way of saying good job. And it actually made me really happy. It made me, proud of myself, because something he thought, side-eyeing me, like, you're just gonna be a makeup artist. He had no idea a makeup artist can make as much as a plastic surgeon and a doctor. And, when you come into this, side of the industry and you work in television and film, you can have benefits. If you get in the union and you can do big films. You can win an Oscar. You can win an Emmy. It's the world is your oyster. You don't have to just be at Mac, and there's nothing wrong with if you choose to just be at Mac. It's all a choice. So yeah.
I love it. Well, I am so honored that you came on here, especially the day after the AMAs, because I know you are poop. So I'm going to ask you two final wrap-up questions, and I'm going to go let you drink, because it is now probably 11 o'clock your time, and there's no time better than 11 o'clock a.m. to just start pounding them back. So, so you have 8 kids, all different ages. So I'm curious, what is like one thing, like a product or something that you, traveling across the country constantly, couldn't live without?
A product I couldn't live without. I'm gonna have to say my Perfect Blend stick. I have to have a Perfect Blend foundation stick, even though it's, we're dwindling out. We may bring it back, but I still have a ton of shit loads for me. So I have my shade. I made sure I was like, I got 12 sticks left. Stash box. I got some over here in the storage facility. I'm going to have these sticks. I'm going to freeze them. But no, it's my go-to foundation. It's super easy. If I have to jump on a Zoom like this and be camera ready, I don't have to pull out a whole bunch of products. I can zoom, get my little face together, put my little contour on, and I'm done. So I can't live without that.
Well, it's impressive, because you look like you have a full beat on, even if you do not. So
I have a lot of highlight on, which this California sunlight is really, I look really glowy.
Okay, this New York sunlight looks like I don't have a shoulder, so we're not even. Okay, last question. What is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
What I would say that I didn't know, I don't know. What would I say that I didn't know? I would say that I didn't know. I knew that. It's a hard question, Jess.
That's okay. Listen, you may not have an answer.
I didn't know how much energy you have to have children. How much energy you have to have, how much energy kids have, and matching their energy to be able to get through. My husband can do that. His energy's off the chain. But me, especially, I'm a little older than my husband. And I don't know if it's because I'm a little older or because I'm just dog tired all the time because I'm always working. My husband could work really hard and still come in and have energy for the kids. Me, I'm like, bye, y'all. I gotta go get in this bathroom, close the door. I need a moment. I gotta breathe, but also I think it's just individuals too. I'm an empathic person and I'm super sensitive to energy. And so if my energy is really, really low, I know that I have to separate from my kids just for a little bit, for a beat. And moms, I want to tell you that at home, it is okay to do that. My therapist told Many therapists tell me if you need a beat to breathe, there's nothing wrong with you. If you need a beat to collect yourselves because your kids' energy is off the wall, and it's okay because they're kids, they're gonna have off the wall energy, right? We did when we were kids. So right. Our moms probably coped with it by drinking, you know, and smoking cigarettes. I'm a 70s kid, so that's what parents were doing. But even though my mom did it,
I'm an 80s kid, so it was cocaine for us. I don't really know.
they coped with it with cocaine, probably, but
my parents had a lot of energy. A lot.
some
Yeah.
So, but at the end of the day, there are moms someplace like trapped in a bathroom with a drink, with pills, stressed out because they don't know how to manage the energy of their children. It's okay to take a beat, breathe, 10 deep breaths, reset yourself, calibrate yourself back to zero, and then come out. Teach your children breathing exercises. I'm about to teach all of them. I taught my oldest, but I'm about to teach all of them how to do breathing exercises because even kids need to sometimes recalibrate and lower their energy too because they're just batshit crazy for no and it's okay to take a beat. That's what I want to give moms. Tell them it is okay. It's okay to recollect yourself, to say my child is off the fucking chain today and I just need to really take those breaths, recalibrate, reset, and then come out. And when you come out zen, you have no idea how infectious energy is. When I'm zen, I come out, it's almost like I zen my kids. It's like an energy force. When they see, oh, mom's re-zen, it's almost like they're like, okay, and they're right. So our energy is infectious. And when your kids' energy is off the chain, for us as adults, it doesn't make us like, whoo, we're ready to party like them. It makes me like nuts. And so resetting brings me down and then it brings them down. So reset. And it's okay.
Who didn't have an answer, that's a real good answer. So well played. Well played. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you? What's the easiest way to follow you, your website, and I'll, of course, tag it as well.
The easiest way to find me is on Instagram. You can find me at Ashunta Sharif, my maiden name, not the married name, which my husband is always like, but you can find me at Ashunta Sharif on Twitter, on Instagram. And you can find me if you want to look me up at www.ashuntasharifmakeup.com. And that's where you can actually go see my body of work and just check out stuff in terms of what I'm up to. But Instagram is the best place, definitely.
Well, thank you a million times over for being here. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Shit moms won't say.